Our top story today, Buddhism. What is it? How does it work? How does it affect our society? For more on that, let's go to me. Buddhism is a religion that's lasted over 2,500 years. And although many traditions have splintered off since the days of the Buddha's original teachings, the Buddha's message remains the same even now. By understanding the inherent nature of our suffering and creating the conditions in which we can foster compassion, one can escape samsara, the endless cycle of suffering we all endure, and reach enlightenment. Central to the Buddhist belief system is the Buddha's first teachings, the Four Noble Truths, wherein he describes the four truths he arrived at upon enlightenment. The first is that suffering exists. The second, suffering is the result of desire or clinging through greed, aversion, or delusion. The third states that, luckily for us, we can escape this form of suffering. And the fourth lays out the way in which that is possible, the Eightfold Path. The Buddha suggested that if we live according to the Eightfold Path, we too can experience liberation. The Eightfold Path consists of 8 things that a person should cultivate in their life in order to attain liberation from suffering. In no sequential order, they are right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Another tenet of Buddhist practice is adherence to the 5 precepts. The 5 precepts deal with moral conduct. In Buddhism, all the precepts are prefaced by the statement, I undertake to observe the rule, and then the precepts go as follows. To abstain from taking life. To abstain from taking what is not given. To abstain from sensuous misconduct. To abstain from false speech. To abstain from intoxicants as tending to cloud the mind. As you can see, the 5 precepts are quite similar to other codes of conduct found in other major religions around the world. Today, some of these aspects of Buddhism have even become somewhat mainstream. The idea of mindfulness has become a full-fledged industry, inspiring not only individuals, both Buddhists and secularists alike, to live more mindful lives, but also entire companies like Google and Apple to use mindfulness practices in their day-to-day operations. Mindfulness is even being used in physical therapy as a means of holistically healing both the body and the mind. Buddhism is a religion that advocates for strict nonviolence. That approach has been taken by great Buddhist leaders since time immemorial and is even evident in more recent history. Leaders like Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh, who advocated for peace during the Vietnam War and was nominated by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for a Nobel Peace Prize, and the 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso, whom has served as a beacon of peace to the Tibetan people for almost a century because of his advocacy for a peaceful resolution with the Chinese government over the seizure of Tibet. In conclusion, Buddhism could be seen as not so much as a religion and more of a way of life. It calls for the realization of suffering and states that you, and only you, by means of recognizing the truth of suffering and partaking in the Eightfold Path, can free yourself of that cycle. There is no God, per se, only you. Understand the truth. Understand yourself. Live morally with compassion and understanding, and ultimately you will be rewarded with liberation and enlightenment. As the Buddha said, you cannot travel the path until you become the path. Back to you.